But yeah, the main villains were, oh yeah, it was Sean McKay and Admiral Benitez. Admiral Benitez is the first one you take out. She's kind of the least interesting villain because you kind of don't get to know her much. She's just there for like two cutscenes and then she's already dead. And Sean McKay, he's sort of funding the whole operation, and he's sort of this corporate fat cat that has a lot of the plants and distribution going on within Yarrow that I guess distribute the drugs and the poison or whatever that is for the cancer. The whole cancer angle I found kind of weird, but it goes deeper once you get to Castillo or Anton. Um, but yeah, you take out Benitez, and then that sort of creates a sort of cycle where like okay, Anton's and his army try to one up you, and they're like okay, we're gonna get rid of El Tigre and we're gonna get rid of Hanron, and both of them and like of course a bunch of other rebels sort of end up dying, and like it's sort of that moment I felt so it was just so crazy to me because like there was periods where it just felt like a pure battlefield throughout the map, and you could really feel like the stakes and like the cycle of violence, just not only the rebels trying to one up Anton and his army, but then you have the army trying to one up the rebels, and you just have all this violence and all this death happening, and it really like gets to this crescendo that there's just like a whole bunch of people dying, and it just feels like all out war. But eventually you get to Sean McKay, and he sort of leaves you with a bit of an ultimatum, like, oh, you can't kill me, and you get a call from Juan, which I haven't really talked much about Juan. Again, one of the comic reliefs, but Juan says like, oh, Sean is offering us a lot of money to just back off, and all you need to do is just not kill him, and we're square. And it's just a weird choice, but I'm like, no, you're dead. Like you killed like my favorite character, so one of the best characters in the game. So yeah, I killed him off. I didn't accept the money, and for a weird moment I was feeling like, is Juan really gonna like backstab us at some point? But he never ends up really doing that, and it really felt so I don't know, like when El Tigre and Haron died, like it really kind of put me in a place where like damn, like suddenly the group of people that you've been helping and been working just felt smaller, and all of a sudden it was just you and Yelena, which is the main leader of that eastern part of the map. And but then because of the death of those characters and El Tigre, Mama and the other guys they're like, okay, we're gonna join you. And after you take out the main villains, they're like, okay, we're gonna join you in your rebellion. And then from there on, you're finally onto Anton Castillo, and I don't know. Again, like I feel like throughout this game, I feel like the motivations were just so strong, and like the story was compelling enough to keep me going, and I just wanted to see more. And yeah, you get to Castillo, and you see another character I didn't talk much about, which is Diego, which is Anton's son. Diego just seems to be just like, I don't know, there's a way to say it, but he just kind of like a passenger throughout this whole situation. Like he doesn't really have much of a say in what's going on, and he just kind of like witnessing or experiencing all these things, and you can't really tell if he likes it or if he's against it. He just seems to be absorbing it, but your character and Diego sort of coming face to face, but instead of, because the whole mission is to take out the Castillo regime and Castillo family. But one of the things I liked about the story, and what I liked about your character in particular, Danny, is that she wasn't she never wanted to kill Diego's son. Like, the whole mission is to kill the dad, Anton, which is John Carlo's character. He's the main person that she wants to get. So when she comes across Diego, she's like, she doesn't spill the beans on his location. She just, and Diego in return, you know doesn't, ends up saving her life, in that little moment that they had there. And um and yeah, so you see, like, there's some kind of, maybe some kind of loose connection there, like, maybe there's some hope for Diego, and maybe there's some hope for the future of Yara, if Diego could just get off the leash of Anton. And the whole time, well, not the whole time, but there was a moment where I was thinking, could Diego be the one to pull the trigger on Anton? That doesn't end up happening, but for a while I was thinking that. And yeah, again, another character I wasn't talking about much is Clara. There's so much to cover in this game, and I only have so much memory to record. But Clara, she's like the leader of this regime that you're starting up, and she's a super cool character, also super hot. But no, she finds out that you had an opportunity to kill Diego and you didn't take it. But she seems like she wants to have be open towards a conversation with Anton, and maybe have some kind of peace within the war, or within the fight. But that doesn't end up happening. Anton ends up um, taking her away, and having a gun pulled on her throughout their meeting with each other. And then your goal becomes to go and rescue Clara and get her out of that situation. And so you infiltrate and you get in, and then you have this whole, what I really like, whole altercation scenario with Anton, Diego, Clara, and Danny. This is like your real first time having them all together on screen, and such a great performance by Giancarlo, and especially Danny. I can't express her overall performance throughout the game, but Giancarlo's performance is great, and then he ends up spilling the beans that he's sick with leukemia, and that they've been using this sort of kind of cure on him, in order for him to, stay healthy. Well, I'm guessing when you kill the doctor, that sort of becomes difficult for him, and once you take off the plants and all that, he sort of loses his source of, his health. And you start to see the leukemia really taking over his body, and you see his face, just bruised and kind of has patches of blood, very unhealthy looking. And and Juan is on the other side, trying to get a shot in, trying to see if he could get a clear snipe shot in to get Anton, but he never gets a good clear shot. But he does get a good clear shot of Diego, and he's like ready to pull the trigger, but Danny, she's like, no, we never agreed to take out Diego. We're not killing him. And then, she ends up kind of accidentally spilling the beans, and she kind of lunges at Diego to save him. And Anton just sees that, and he just kills Clara, like, on the spot. And the leader of the rebellion is now gone. And like, damn, like, and then again, another awesome character dying. And well, again, this game wasn't really scared to pull those kinds of punches, and it's one of the things that I appreciated about this game. And yeah, Anton ends up running away with Diego, and then I'm gonna just kind of go through this quick because yeah, I've only had so much time to record, and but yeah, there's just so much to cover. But it's such a great story, and I really highly recommend people to check it out if they're interested at all. Um, but yeah, then you get to the end, and then ultimately Danny ends up having to be the one to take control of the for a little bit because she's not much of a leader. She's just more of a doer, and you know I kind of again I think overall the story is great, but there was a moment in the end that where they added some comic relief, which I didn't think landed pretty well, and I was kind of disappointed with it because I was like, well, you could have leaned into the more serious part and really gave Danny a moment, but they kind of shied away from it, and I kind of didn't like that. But it was like whatever. There was a lot of other great parts. It's just that I wish that part was better. And I guess another thing is that I was disappointed that you don't really get to kill Anton yourself. It happens through a cutscene. Basically, all the other main villains you get to kill yourself, but Anton is probably the one you don't get to kill. He kills himself. He kills his son, or he stabs his son first, then he kills himself, and he's basically re-experiencing the moments where Diego is. Well, the thing was is that Anton had to go through the death of his dad around the same age Diego had to go through, and so I don't know, maybe he was trying to spare Diego from that by killing him. I don't know. Um, I was kind of like curious to see if Anton would at all have some kind of character change, because when you find out when he has leukemia, you're like, whoa. If you were just more transparent and you were just more cool, then maybe people would have been more understanding and people would have liked you more as a leader instead of you hoarding and killing people and not being generally not being a good dad. And Diego, he was trying his best to protect his dad, and even though him and Danny seemingly had a little bit of a thing that maybe you know they wanted to have some kind of peace, and I think Diego ultimately wanted to have some kind of peace, but Anton just he saw the writing on the wall. He no longer had access to his cure, so he knew he was going to be dying, if not now, then eventually. And I don't know, he just didn't, I don't know, like he never ended up seeing the good of anything. Like he just stayed an asshole. He stayed a sick bastard. He stayed an evil person. Whereas Diego, I think he tried to see the more good side, or at least wanted to be more optimistic about things. At least that's what I like to think. And yeah, and I think that was probably part of the reason why he was trying to protect Anton. And Danny, I thought it was interesting that she was reluctant to keep, because once Anton stabs Diego, like Danny tries to save Diego, but like Diego's just like, it's okay, it's okay. And I don't know, I really like that level of complexity of Danny's character, because yeah, like she's an orphan, and she doesn't know at all what it's like to have a mom or dad. But I don't know, like I don't know if she has something for kids, or if she likes kids or something, or maybe she's just sensitive towards kids that either didn't have any parents or were raised by bad parents. But yeah, like I like that level of complexity, even though I don't know. I just thought I really liked that because it did add depth to her character, and she just wasn't out for just to kill people. She wanted to get the job done, but she wanted to do it, at least what her would be the right way. And if maybe if Diego, if she could somehow save him and see the good in him, then maybe he could end up a better leader than both his dad and his granddad. At least that's what I was thinking. But he ends up dying off, and Danny doesn't want to take any of the responsibility to be a leader, and you sort of just left to assume or to guess who might be the next in line. I personally feel um Spar Montero, which is the daughter of El Jefe. I personally think she'll probably make the better leader, if not Yelena. But you could tell, like, they're they're done with their regime dictatorship. They're more in line of wanting to implement a democratic election where they want to see who who the people want the most, as a leader. But if there's people who I would want as a leader, I think those two that I mentioned are the most have the most leadership quality. I honestly think Danny should have taken the leadership role, just considering all the shit she had to go through. And maybe she doesn't want it because she's really kind of not meant for it. Again, she's more of a doer than a leader. But considering all the stuff she's went through and all the favors and people she's helped, she does have a lot to go on to be a leader. She in other words, she will have a lot of respect to be a leader. At least what I think. And yeah, I think overall the story, I think, was awesome. Like, I was really left enthralled, entertained, engaged throughout it. I thought John Carter's performance was awesome as El Presidente. Diego was cool. Again, not really knowing where he stood, but him lying more around the middle of maybe wanting to have more peace within the groups. Clara, being the main leader and dying off. All the characters. I feel like I talked so much, but I really didn't get that deep into really the characters and what I like about them. But there's just so many cool moments, so many memorable cool cool missions. Like, a lot of missions are very set piece sort of missions where you're just kind of blowing shit up and things happen and things pop out. Some of them are more basic where you're just kind of clearing out and need to get to a place in order to get the mission done. And some of them are more chill, like one of the later missions you do in El Estate, in the eastern part of the map. It's just a party with you, Haron, and Yelena, and that's sort of your last sort of nice moment to have with Haron before she dies off. And the game, I feel like, generally has a pretty good pace. But I really just like, just beating a main mission and being like, and just heading off to the next, and just having the sense of, I don't know, I always keep harkening back to the strong motivation, just the carrot at the end of the stick that, you're off, that the main villain is gonna, Anton, he's like the carrot at the end of the stick of everything, and then just looking at the map and just clearing out and killing off the main villains one by one, and just feeling like this giant epic or crossroad country road trip of you just recruiting these people, meeting these people, doing favors for these people, going through these camps, going through stealthily or guns blazing and killing off these main villains. And I don't know, I just found it very satisfying, and I felt the ending could have been done better. I felt like my version of what could have gone would have been maybe more interesting. Maybe if Diego was the one to kill off Anton, I thought would have been interesting. Or if I don't know if Danny just gave a better speech in around the end, or she took if she really leaned into taking that leadership role, because I think she would have been awesome as like the next leader in line, or at least it would have fit or made sense to me. Um, but yeah, I think overall I think the main campaign to this game was awesome. Like again, is hasn't I haven't played a Far Cry game since 3, and even the campaign there I thought was okay, not great, but this one really left an impression on me. I really love Danny as a character. She's just so cool. And just seeing her journey, seeing her arc throughout it, the it feels so personal because again, like the way that it all starts with her and her brother dying, and then some other people close to her dying, and then going throughout this whole adventure, seeing El Jefe die, seeing El Tigre die, seeing Haron die, seeing Tali get really poisoned, seeing you, Danny, get tortured and poisoned. You go through so much bullshit, you know, but at the end, Danny, like, finally gets the job done, even though she doesn't end up pulling the trigger on Anton. But I don't know, I just felt like this really grand, epic adventure that really did put an impression on me, and that's not really considering other things. I really wanted to mention like the music in this game was really cool. The orchestra is really cool. Especially the stealth music is really cool. Um, and of course the game looks absolutely gorgeous. Like, I ended up getting this on sale on Amazon for $15, and I definitely feel like for the time and the quality that I got, I feel like it was more than worth those $15. So yeah, I think that concludes our discussion. There's so much that I would have want to talk about, but I think I'm gonna leave it at that while I have the memory to conclude this. But yeah, thanks for watching. I highly recommend this game. If even if I know people again have their criticisms on Ubisoft games, and how formulaic they might feel, but I recommend it simply for the campaign. The different characters you get to meet, the different personalities, and the whole motivations, and how the stakes of everything, how strong it all feels. I think all of that, I feel like it's very well orchestrated in such a to make a game that overall was a really great experience. But yeah, I wouldn't really knock it just because it's formulaic, because a lot of the open world formulaic stuff you can really kind of ignore. I played this on the easiest difficulty. A lot of the missions you can go in guns blazing. Some of these missions will go on for maybe 30 or 40 minutes. Some of them are like 10 or 20 minutes, or some of them are kind of short, bite size. To me, sometimes when I got in and played, I would just see it as me watching an episode on. Like, to me, this game had the qualities of a high-end HBO show, from the cinematics to the acting and performances, and even a lot of the action that happens within the game itself. Like, to me, it was an overall great experience. So yeah, I know I highly recommend it. Even if you're not into Ubisoft games, I recommend it just for the campaign itself. It's a fun game in itself, just playing it stealth, even with the exploration. Even thinking about it as an open world game, there is a lot to explore and find things for yourself. And not everything is sort of planted out for you. There are things to discover and whatnot. You sort of find these letters that sort of lead towards things that you probably haven't found, and if you're interested, you go off on those tangents. But yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I think I went out for a while. I kind of just wanted to have this a way to express my experience with the game and what I loved about it, and yeah, because I don't really have much. I don't really talk about games deeply in this kind of way much with a lot of other people. But yeah, I hope this conversation serves you guys well and makes maybe encourages you to check it out. But I don't, that really doesn't matter. What I really cared about is really kind of sharing my experience. If people are into it or not, it's up to them. You know, but to me, it was an experience worth having, especially for 15 bucks. The game's available on PS Plus Extra. I just recently got there like last month, I believe. It might be on Game Pass. I'm not sure, but it's pretty accessible game to get now at this point. Um, you know, I think Ubisoft, in terms of making compelling stories in an open world, they're pretty good at it. I just also recently played Watch Dogs Legion, which was also really great, and I kind of wish I did a proper discussion on that, but that's a long while already. But yeah, I wouldn't knock it just because it's a Ubisoft game, and the game's pretty well polished for the most part. It isn't a broken mess like Ghost Recon Breakpoint. So great game. Anyway, thanks for watching this long discussion, spoiler cast, and thanks for watching. Have a good day.